It's a true depiction of who we are. The freedom that we have within the United States. Simply walking through the woods and holding hands with your friends is a freedom we have. What kind of freedom do you live in today? Before I begin today, I need to make a fast announcement. Thank God for Post-it notes. As was shared even last week, and some of you may not have heard this last week, and or maybe weren't here, but we currently do not have a Sunday school chairperson. And as mentioned last week, we will hold a ballot for that. We have 2 individuals that we will vote for. Those members age 15 and above, members of this local church, will just cast a quick ballot. That'll be in the morning of next Sunday. And so, love to have you to be a part of that and pray for our Sunday school. It's just a privilege. We love to learn around here. And today I want to talk with you, and part of that learning, if I may, about the truth about freedom. And in Galatians 5, if you like to turn to that, it's in the New Testament, it's way to the right. If you go to Revelation, you've gone too far. If you go on to Matthew, you haven't gone far enough. And if you get to the point, you get to Romans, you keep going a little bit further. And I've said it a lot of times, I like to remember it by General Electric Power Company. Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians. I learned that a long time ago. So that's how it helps me to understand the order, which one follows which. So just because you're a pastor doesn't mean you got it always remembered. Sometimes you need little mnemonics to help you remember about those things. And that brings quite a bit of freedom. At this time of the year, we celebrate our national freedom and remember about the signing of the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. I've thought many times what it must have been like to have been a part of that, to have been able to see this actual confidence to be there. And this freedom actually inspired a young theologian student named Samuel Francis Smith. And in 1832, he had found this German-themed song. And as he was sorting through this music, and he saw this music while he was over in Europe, he saw this medley that he eventually found out that it was a patriotic song. And so he kind of, like a lot of musicians do, kind of 4/4 or triplet. You try to tap out whatever it might feel like in the songs. And I used to take little poems in the back of our Sunday bulletins and try to put music to that. And it's kind of like what Samuel Smith was doing that day. And he tapped it out, and here are the words that he started coming up with, that he started to write. Here's what it said. Look at the screen. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing, land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrims' pride. From every mountainside, let freedom. Aren't you blessed to realize that you live in a country such as free as the United States of America? You don't need to be silent today, it's okay. You're among friends and family here. But if those rights were snatched away from you today, it would put you on the defense. It would make you feel bad. You would be reactive and blame other people for someone taking away your freedoms. When Samuel Smith had written this, he didn't realize that in the future, millions of people would willingly lay down their lives for the freedom that he had even penned the words to. The very chime of freedom as it rings across America, how special it is. Why? Because we live in the land of the free. But today it's an important question we need to ask. A more important question to ask is this maybe. What does it mean to be free? We have lived a part of this country for such a long time. Others of you are here and you weren't born here, but you've since made the United States your home. And some of you have become citizens of this country. What does it mean to be free? Sometimes when we hear this, we think, well, it's just the way it is. It's the way it's always been. There's been slavery, there's been oppression, there's been abuse. There's been tough times that even individuals in this congregation have experienced. And yet you still have the right to opinions, even go contrary, that some will even burn the United States flag because they don't agree with the red, white, and blue. Religious freedom, people who even curse God, the very money that they don't mind spending, that has His name on it. They don't mind that. It's the United States. And a lot of times there are freedoms that have been established that we try to adhere to. However, some don't always do so. There's a system in this country, and it deals with the issue of law. But there's also the area of freedom. Because the real truth of that question, what does it mean to be free? Maybe we need to discover a couple of questions that we need to answer. A couple of results off of that question. First one is, freedom is national independence. National independence is certainly probably what Thomas Jefferson had in mind when he penned out the words to the Declaration of Independence. Freedom allowed this country to govern itself free from English authority. The desire of national independence is the same that Patrick Henry had shouted out those immortal words, "Give me liberty or give me death." It's freedom we speak about today. On July 3rd in 1776, the night before the Declaration of Independence was signed, John Adams made this statement: "I am well aware of the toil and the blood and the treasure it will cost us to maintain this declaration." And indeed, it proved costly for a couple of those members. That night, Richard Stockton of New Jersey was pulled from his bed by British soldiers. He was cast into prison and died shortly thereafter at the age of 51. John Hart was chased away from his dying wife and his 13 children. His farm was destroyed by fire, and he was a fugitive for over 1 year. National freedom is one thing which we have been willing to die for. So what does it mean this time of the year when we hear that question, what does it mean to be free? When we hear that question, I tend to think of national independence. But the second answer to this question is this: what does it mean to be free? It means that freedom is also a personal liberty. For example, an elderly lady one day was driving her nice, big, wealthy car, and she drove over and she started to back up to parallel park. Some young guy in his little fancy, tiny sports car whipped right in that slot. She got out and said, "Young man, didn't you see I was backing up? That spot was for me? Why would you do that?" He said, kind of with an attitude. He said, "Because I'm young and I'm quick." And he walked into the store, gloating, throwing his keys up, grabbing them, and tossing them into his pocket. Well, in the meantime, she got back in her car, and when he came out a few minutes later, he noticed this woman who had this really big car, backing it up and using it as a battering ram into that little car. He said, "Woman, what are you doing? You're destroying my car. Why would you do that?" She said, "Because I am old and I am rich." Now that's probably a misuse of the personal freedom we're trying to talk about today, but it does happen in this country. Personal liberty is one of the most prized possessions that we have. In fact, it is an inalienable right of a human being. And yet one of the most dramatic rights that ever happened within this past century of ours was when the Berlin Wall came down. Remember that? Were you here at that time? People would take chunks of that and they were able to buy it. Possibly it was some destruction or construction debris that someone had put into a jar and labeled it from the Berlin Wall.